full time here in San Diego. The Free Jacks win it all. The score 20-11, and they deserved it because they played an overall well-rounded game from beginning to end, and they just did an exceptional job of having a strong defense. There was not a huge attacking side from either side, but what New England did very well was protecting the ball, keeping that possession, and really draining the clock, and keeping Seattle on their heels, pressuring them, wearing them out, and exhausting them. And by the time that Seattle did get the ball in their hands, they weren't able to convert and take advantage of their field position, and a lot of times like turnovers were created in this match, especially within the 5-meter area. New England they were stingy. They locked it down, played airtight defense, and did not allow Seattle to score other than the first try where Joe scored here on this north side end zone. But overall, a great game. The better team did win this match. Seattle was slow to start. New England started off hot. That first 20 minutes, it was theirs. That 20 to 30 minute mark, it was Seattle. And that 30 to 40, New England took the advantage. And I feel you hear them celebrating here in the background behind me, getting the trophy and all that good stuff. So congratulations to the Free Jacks on the massive win and back-to-back champions in MLR. So they get their 2 stars above their logo. So congratulations to them. But I'll go over here the stat line right after I just get done with my initial thoughts. I have the halftime stats in my hand, and I'll have the full-time stats on the phone right here. But yeah, just from what I can tell, New England came out, they executed their strategy. They were mistake-free. They did not create a lot of unforced errors on their point. So when they had the ball in their hands, they did an exceptional job of keeping it in their hands, letting the game come to them, executing their set pieces very well, and not forcing plays to happen that weren't there. They just kept chipping away, getting past the gain line little by little, and then just eventually broke down the Seattle side, wearing them down and exhausting them. And that's where I feel that Seattle could have done a better job. Where Seattle had the ball, they had huge explosive plays. So I feel like overall, Seattle has the more athletic side as far as talent and players. For when I'm talking about like speed, agility, being able to hit the line and just take off and creating missed tackles, Seattle definitely has the advantage for more athletic players, I will say. But New England had a better team strategy, I would say, where the team backed each other up and they didn't allow gaps to happen where Seattle couldn't get those advantages, just from what I was seeing. And so while Seattle was able to make those huge line breaks and move down the field and gain a lot of meters, New England was able to stifle those meters that were gained and create turnovers, kick the ball out of their side, and then put Seattle back on the other side of the 50. So that's where the tell of the tape is for me, that New England, although they did allow big plays to happen, they were able to reset and gain the advantage and just completely clear their red zone, which was, it speaks to a very strong defensive side, and it speaks to a very well structured and disciplined side. And I think that Seattle was very disciplined as well, but they just had more mistakes, a lot of knock-ons, a lot of mishandles, and just not able to convert on the opposing side of the field. They weren't, they were losing the ball when they were in the 5-meter area, and that's where New England just took advantage. And also the kicking game from New England was very good. They had a very solid 50-22, and their box kicking was exceptional as well, where I feel that they were able to gain meters a lot easier, where Seattle had to fight tooth and nail just to get past the game line. And so let's take a look at the stats right here. This is the halftime stats. We have the scoreline at half was 14-8. New England had the advantage. Total tries scored at that point, it was 1-1 apiece, or 1 apiece, I should say. No successful conversions, but 3 successful penalty kicks to New England compared to the 1 for Seattle. So territory, this is where the tell of the game was. For territory, 53-47 was the territory, and the advantage goes to New England. And then we go to the possession. 64-36 was the possession, and New England had that advantage. And I know possession may not always be the storyline, but in this case it was, because New England, when they had the ball in their hands, they were able to maintain it and just drain the clock. That is huge, because when Seattle had finally got the ball in their hands, they didn't have enough time to capitalize and score and take advantage. And that was like really a huge storyline, because when Seattle had the ball at the end of the match, they got it at like the 75th minute, the 76th minute, and even if they scored, there wasn't enough time on the clock to really, change the outcome of this game. So New England did a very good job of, once they had the ball in their hands, they were able to drain the clock, wear out the Seattle side, and just have that energy conservation, which is incredibly important. Their forwards weren't having to run up and down the pitch, whereas Seattle, their forwards were having to run left, right, back and forth and really defend their position, but they got exhausted near the end, and that's what I started seeing. So it was like, it was an energy consumption game that New England won in that advantage, I would say. And we have scrums won, 4-3, scrums won, that goes to New England. Tackles made, 80 tackles for Seattle compared to 44 tackles made for New England, and that's the first half. So it shows you that all the defense was happening from Seattle when New England had the ball. So it was just getting drained, having to pick themselves up off the floor every second of the game. And that's the difference. Like, as I was sitting here and just like sort of going through my mind of the journey I've had, my background's football. I played college football, finished my career there. That's what I know. I was born and raised in the American football culture. But coming over to the game of rugby, I've been able to pick up and learn a lot, not only because of you, but just because like research I've done. But as I'm sitting here looking at this match, I was sitting here thinking like, gosh darn, like how difficult is it to play the game of rugby? 80 minutes nonstop. Like in football, we tackle, the play's done, you reset, get back up, sit in the huddle, go back out again. You have time to catch wind. In this, you have no time to catch wind. And I was just sitting here looking at this match and like, how difficult is it for these men to play this game? Because you're consistently going. You don't have any time to rest. And once you're out of air, you just have to get up and keep going. So it's the mentality, the strength it takes, the tenacity it takes to play the game of rugby is incredible. So hats off to anyone, hats off to all these men. It takes so much energy, effort, mental toughness is the biggest thing. You can have the biggest tank in the world, but your mind has to be on point. And these men they have galvanized their minds. They're just incredible people and athletes. And so that's just something that came to mind as I was watching this match, as far as looking at the comparison of the world I'm used to and being in the world of rugby. So hats off to these men for playing this incredible game of rugby. It takes so much to continue to play from beginning to end, and you just have to have like mental fortitude like nobody else's business. So continuing with the stats, lineouts won. We have 7-1 lineouts. New England had the lineout advantage, and I have to say New England is incredibly creative and dynamic in their lineouts. They did a great job of doing a lot of trickery in their lineouts. They would move positions, running back and forth, and so it created a lot of confusion where Seattle wasn't able to defend the lineouts and get that turnover out of the lineouts because of the dynamic creativity that New England was doing with their lineouts. So I thought they did an exceptional job of that. It wasn't just set up, throw it in, pick him up, pick the lock up and go get the ball. They would throw the lock up in the air, shift a guy forward, throw it way over top, and just very creative from what I saw. And it's my first time actually seeing it. And especially from this view, create the vantage point is exceptional to see that. So massive shout out to New England for being very creative in their lineouts. And 7-1, it speaks to how good they were in winning those. Clean breaks, there were 0 in the first half. 6 penalties conceded by Seattle compared to 3 conceded by New England. We had handling errors, 3 for Seattle, 1 to New England, and that's where Seattle could have done a better job. They did not play a clean game by any means. It felt sort of just like a hangover from last week at Dallas, playing Dallas, where they weren't the most consistent in the first half, and it looked like that way to today's match, except they weren't able to turn it around because New England was just able to continue to play consistent and play a more dominant game of rugby today. And tackles missed, 14 for New England, 12 to Seattle in the first half, 0 scrums lost on both sides, 2 lineouts lost by New England, and then 0 yellow cards and 0 reds. And we're going to look at the full-time stats and see how things changed up right there. But the halftime was, you know, it was all New England, and Seattle did a fantastic job of staying in the game to keep it close because it wasn't looking good as far as the possession time and there's the mishandling and the errors that were happening. So if we look at the full-time stats, 20-11 is the final score. 1 try on both sides. So like I said, not a very active scoring game, but a very solid defensive-minded game and a very strategic match on both sides. What really won them was the penalties being conceded. New England was able to convert those penalties and put those points to just pull away ever so slightly, and they were just able to defend so well. Successful penalty goals, 5 for New England compared to 2 for Seattle. Territory, it evened out at the full time. So territory, 53-47, the advantage goes to New England. Possession time was 50-50, right down the middle. And that's interesting to see because, you know, the first half was so one-sided where New England had the advantage in that. But Seattle was able to even out that possession time. Only difference is they weren't able to convert those possessions and get points out of that because New England played a clean game. They did not get any penalties and allow penalty kicks to happen. So Seattle was not able to put points on the board because there were no tries and there were also no penalty kicks getting awarded to them. Lineouts won 11-8 for New England. Turnovers won 8-2. And speaking from my vantage point watching this match, a lot of these turnovers in the second half happened within that red zone, the 22 and especially that 5-meter zone of New England. New England, they were getting threatened. Seattle was moving the ball, they were whipping it around, looking like they were gonna really score. But New England, whatever they had to do, they dug their heels in and said, this is all we're giving. And they planted their flag and they dominated right there. So once they hit that 5-meter line, they created those turnovers out of the scrums, out of the, like, jackling the ball. They were able to clear and get the jackal and just, you know, cause those turnovers to happen. So massive shout out to New England. And it, you know, the turnovers won us 8-2, and that's a huge story of the game. Clean breaks, Seattle had 1 clean break, New England had 0. Just Seattle wasn't able to convert the clean breaks. Penalties conceded, 13-13 on penalties conceded. Handling errors, 9-7, 9 for Seattle, 7 for New England. Tackles missed, 27-24. Scrums lost, 1-0. Seattle lost 1, New England lost 0. They kept the ball in their possession. Lineouts lost, Seattle 1, New England 2. Yellow cards, 1 for Seattle, 0 for New England, and 0 red cards for both sides. But as overall, as I'm watching the game, New England was the better team today. I know they won from the defensive side. They were able to take advantage of the turnover opportunities. Like I said, they dug their heels in, and they did not give an inch once their heels were on their try line. And that just tenacious, tough, gritty, very consistent, and they did not fold and falter. And so big love to New England on that. And Seattle just was not able to take advantage and score when they had it on that side of the field. So overall, an incredible match. I enjoyed being here. Both teams showed out. New England played very great game, stuck to their game plan, chipped away little by little. They didn't make the big explosive plays. They were just like that grinding mentality. They grind you down, and that's what they were able to do, is just wear them out and exhaust them at the end. And like Seattle had the huge explosive plays, but they weren't able to get those grindy plays in the scrums and just push people back. The scrums were just like so even matched. Not an inch was given on either side, and you know, it was a fun game to watch, a very interesting chess match, and it just all came down to the mishandles and the turnovers, and New England won that advantage. So great match, back-to-back champions for New England, incredible season. I'm excited to see how it all turns out next year, but I'm so grateful to be here, and what an amazing journey. It all happened in like a windfall of a year, but we're here. American rugby is growing and thriving. A great turnout. There was a turnout of 12,085 people in attendance, so that's a very good turnout, and I'm hopeful that it will continue to grow here in America, and just a beautiful host. San Diego Legion did an exceptional job of hosting this event, and the coverage on this was top-notch. The level of gameplay, it continued to improve every single week, and I know year after year it's going to continue to evolve and grow, so I'm happy to see it happening that way, and eventually catching up to the world, right? You're so used to incredible rugby at the top 14, URC, Super Pacific Rugby, or Super Rugby Pacific, excuse me, Premiership. You all have such high class, high caliber rugby, and I feel that MLR is starting to level up, and we'll get to that level where USA is going to have Tier 1 rugby, and I'm hopeful to see it because of the nations that are involved in this. They're helping elevate the quality of the USA game because you have all these nations from around the world coming and playing and educating the US market on rugby and educating our players and building that experience, building up that quality, and hopefully we're going to see it all continue to grow from the grassroots level on up, and this is just a start. So I thank you so much for being here. I want to know your thoughts, how you enjoyed this game, what was your analysis, and are you looking forward to next season? I know I am. I'm going to definitely be out to more MLR matches and working with MLR and teams. Definitely going to continue to work with Seattle Seawolves, and hopefully I get to work with more organizations in MLR as well. I know I was talking to Old Glory earlier in the season and Miami Sharks earlier in the season, so I'll continue to cultivate those relationships and see where we grow from here. But this is all happening because of you. I really appreciate you. I love you. Thank you all for your continued love, support, and positivity. And I want to know your thoughts on this match, Qrew. But in our descriptions below, drop into our Discord, my QSN Rugby Pub, where we talk shop offline, family, life, share food, pictures, videos, any new rugby videos that you want me to check out. Drop in our Discord in the descriptions below, and we will see you soon, Qrew. I love you. I appreciate you. Always stay laser focused on your dreams and your vision, and remember that you're in control. We'll catch you on the next one, all right? Peace.